G'day, it's Dan Misra here from Total Ownership Project Management. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about RAG statuses, traffic lights, red, amber, green. Every project reporting system, every steerco pack, every project update memo nearly every involves the RAG status, the traffic lights. So is it red, amber or green? And of course, your upper management wants to see green. They want to see that your project is on track and there's nothing to alert them to or that they need to be worried about. They can focus on their other problems because you've got it covered. It's all green. RAG statuses are given at various different levels. So they can be given at the component level. You might have various milestones. Are you tracking to each of those milestones? Is it red, amber or green? There can be project-wide components such as cost, schedule, resources, safety. There could be a range of different components that cover your whole project, and each milestone might have those separate components as well. So your costs are amber because at this point you don't think that you're going to be able to finish this project within budget, or your schedule is amber because you're running behind schedule and you need to get it back on track. And whenever there's an amber rating, of course, you always need to have a back to green plan. You've got to explain, okay, it's amber, you told me, awesome, what are you going to do about it? How are you going to get back to green? So you would typically never give an amber status without giving a go back to green plan or go to green plan. If your first report is amber already, then it won't be go back to green, it'll be how you're going to get to green. Red is only in rare scenarios where you can't solve it yourself. You're going to have to get more senior management to intervene to get your project back on track, or that aspect or component of your project back on track. So when should you use which rating? Now, it's always tempting to report green. Even when you see that things aren't right, you want to report green because, okay, you can get those problems under control. You know the way to resolve those problems. So let's report green. And to a degree, that's true. If there are minor issues, and of course you don't expect any day to be easy, don't expect everything to run perfectly. There are always going to be small problems, and that's your job to solve those problems. So those small problems are not a reason to report your project as green. But if it's something larger, or you can see something on the horizon that without a change of course or without a change in the approach or even the scope today, this is going to go off track. You're going to overrun on your costs. You're going to overrun on the schedule. You've actually bitten off too much, more than you can deliver with the budget that you've got, then it makes sense to report amber. Often you will know inside whether something is amber or green, whether the right thing to do is to report it as amber and give the bad news now, or whether you should keep that to yourself. It's something you can handle. No need to bother those busy people who've got much bigger problems to solve. With your problems, you can solve them. But if you feel that amber is right and you do need intervention, you do need more, you need help of some kind, then amber is the right thing to do, because bad news early is always better, of course. The last thing you want is you think you can handle it, you report green, next month you can't hold back amber anymore, and of course then you'll need to explain what's behind this problem, how did this problem start, and you're going to be going back in time and it's, well, why are we only finding about this now? That's always the answer. Why are we only knowing about this now? Why wasn't this reported a month ago? Because I thought I could handle it. And of course you can say that, and that could be legitimate, that could be fair, because the way it was a month ago, if you do remember in detail, you can explain, well, at that point it didn't seem serious. I had these factors in my mind and we could approach it in these various ways to solve. Now it's gone too far, and clearly my assessment was wrong, and this month I've got no choice but to report amber. That can happen, and that can be legitimate, and that can be accepted, and then you move from there. Then you have your go to green plan and you explain what you're going to do now. There may be times when you get pushback from someone more senior in your project to report amber, that, oh, this is a surprise, I didn't know about this earlier. And your job as the project manager is to be closer to certain details and to be more far-sighted than pretty much anybody else with regard to your project, so that you can see problems on the horizon. So if you're ever told that this amber rating is a surprise, to be honest, it's always going to be a surprise. How can amber not be a surprise? Because you as the project manager will know more than anybody else. Unless you have been dropping hints along the way that this is a watch area. At the moment it's still green, but this could blow up. This particular aspect of the project, supposing it's a piece of functionality that a small squad in your project team are developing or that you're working on, it's looking more complex than I thought. I think we can get over it, but just letting you know, at the moment we're not behind schedule and I think we can do it, but just letting you know, it does seem more complex than we thought. You could put it on a watch list. It's still green. So then when it goes to amber, there's no surprise. But there will be cases where you hadn't seen it coming, or you see something coming now that you hadn't seen before. So usually, or at least it wouldn't be rare, that when you report amber, it's going to be a surprise to others around you or to people more senior than you. And it's your job to deliver those new pieces of news. New can equal surprise. And try not to be pushed back down to green when you feel the right thing to do is to report it as amber. Because like with the previous case that I mentioned, the last thing you want is for it to be green, 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 and then it's so amber that it's actually almost red when you've been reporting green for all these months. So these are the cases where you need to stand by your intuition, if it's intuition, or delve into your intuition to make the reasons more concrete. So it's not just intuition, but it's actually something that you can support and explain. And why is this something new? Why is this something you haven't mentioned before? Be able to answer that, be able to explain that, because you may well get pushback. Some more senior management will say, awesome, we love the bad news early, or better late than never, or just give us the bad news, we want your honest opinion as a project manager. And those situations are great. But you will also get, no doubt, you'll get situations where I'm not comfortable with you reporting amber, I wasn't aware of this, and it's likely because they will need to report it to somebody more senior than them, and they're not comfortable having that conversation for whatever reason. There'll be all kinds of things going on between them and their upper management that you're not aware of, you don't need to be aware of. But I think what you can do is think about what would be the more serious consequence for that manager, the kind of conversations they'd have to have with their upper leaders. If they don't report amber now, it's going to be even worse. It's just going to get worse and worse, and it's going to snowball. So the whole principle of bad news early, if you're pushed back on reporting bad news or reporting an amber status when you feel it should be, then just have the courage to keep pushing back and ensure it's in writing and make sure that that bad news gets escalated along with a solution. You're never going to explain a problem without proposing a solution, and preferably more than one solution with your recommended option. Thanks very much. Good luck.